world and carries up to 10 super destructive nuclear warheads. Yeah, this is the It's the Dongfeng 41. Can carry 10 warheads over a distance of 7,450 miles in a half an hour. And it can hit several targets at the exact same time.
How can they even try and wrap that up in a bow and try and sell it as a space exploration?
Well, the Chinese aren't. They're not trying to hide this at all. They say that because several countries near them have nuclear weapons now, that this is just a part of modernizing their military and strengthening their programs. Like I said, the Iranians were trying to hide it and say, oh, it's a space test. This is straight up. This is just a missile. This is made to be a nuclear vessel. But what does this mean to the world? The range of this thing and the speed of it means it could completely wipe London off the face of the earth, or just about any city in the West. Because it's about 5,000 miles from the Chinese capital, and they could do that within a half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So, folks, I mean, again, I'm not trying to be a fear monger here or suggest that we need to go fight everybody or anything like that. But as we sit back and look at everything, these threats have to be in the back of your mind as we, take shape and, get through this political season and on to the general election. We need a candidate that can answer the call. I know you love that analogy.
Yeah, he's going to answer that 3 a.m. phone call because we know that it does come.
Yep. So, I mean, it's just information. None of these are an outright direct threat to us, but it's more escalation. Things are not getting better. They're not calming down. And if we're not careful and we don't have the right leadership and the right foreign policy in place, man, we're looking at a global scale combat that we haven't seen in since World War II. And I don't want to see us go down that route. I don't know if the American people can stomach that. But we're going to keep on moving here since we are short on time today. Speaking of answering that 3 a.m. call, some good news for the family of one of the contractors who was killed in Benghazi. We talked yesterday that Congress passed it where the victims or the families of the victims from the 1983 Beirut bombing were able to sue the Iranians and go after some of their frozen assets. And the CIA has now expanded survivor benefits for agency employees and contractors killed in the line of duty overseas in acts of terror. So this goes hand in hand with the Beirut ruling. And this was, it's going to benefit directly Barbara Doherty, who is the mother of Glenn Doherty, the CIA operative who was killed in Benghazi, Libya. The CIA has agreed to pay a death benefit, even though the family was not entitled under a standard federal insurance policy. His regular, government insurance policy pays a benefit only to spouses and dependents. This guy didn't have a wife and he didn't have kids. So now they're going to pay out this $400,000 to his family. So I think this is a good move. It's the right thing to do. And actually, I think it was Joey was asking in the thread yesterday, where is the money for the folks who lost their lives in Benghazi? And here it is. The other CIA contractor and former SEAL who was killed alongside Doherty in Benghazi, that was Tyrone Woods. They had no issues with his insurance paying out because he had a wife and child. So I think this is the right move. I think it's good for the families. And again, it's not going to bring their loved ones back. It's not going to fill that void or anything. But maybe it's at least a little bit of appreciation, for the sacrifice.
I don't see it as that. I actually see this as an admission of an omission.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely, I think, a factor here. But, and it's been a weird situation because of all the controversy around Benghazi. With the whole video thing that, they're saying it was a protest and blah, blah, blah. And of course, we all knew it was a coordinated attack. By doing this, they can never suggest anything other than a terrorist attack there, because the policy says, and it pays out if you are killed in a terrorist action. So, I mean, now it's locked in. No matter what any of them say, it was 100% a terrorist action. So, I mean, I try to look at the bright side of things.
No, I'm glad that they finally did it. I just think this is a very easy way to say, yep, we screwed up, we recognize it, without having to say, yep, we screwed up, and we're going to recognize it.
Right. All right, let me see. What we got about, 35 minutes of the show here. So we're going to keep things rolling. We're going to hit on a couple of Warfighter stories here, and then I'm going to bring out some of the random society-type stories that I've been ending the show with lately because, boy, there's some real doozies out there today. And of course, we did mention earlier in the show, if you missed it, the musical artist Prince was found dead in his home today. No information has been put out on that yet. And April, I know you have a little something to say about that, right? See what I did there?
I've had a very colorful and lively discussion on my Facebook about this because I put a post out this morning. And please keep in mind, I am the daughter of a funeral director. I grew up actually physically living in a funeral home as a child. I understand death. I understand what goes into preserving a memory and respecting the dead, as well as creating that moment for those who love them.
Right.
I am in no way taking away from that. But I made a post on my Facebook that said, if we put that much emphasis and public mourning that I've seen today, because keep in mind, there was a wrestler that passed away over the night too, China.
Yep.
If anyone's part of the whole wrestling world, if we took just a fraction of what people are going on about on social media for a musician and a wrestler, and we put that into the deaths of soldiers and veterans, could you imagine the worldwide attention we could draw to the problems that are plaguing this community?
You better believe it. Yep, and that speaks to a lot of the society-type issues, attachments to, celebrities and things like that. And I get it, 99% of the time, I don't even pay attention, like, oh, okay, so-and-so died, that sucks. You feel for their families and all that, but I didn't know them, but some of them I kind of get, music has a lot of things for people, a lot of passion. It can, a lot of memories can be tied to that. So I can understand getting upset about it. But yeah, I mean, it puts them on this different level and separates them from, the rest of us, and especially from our warfighters. So I think you're freaking spot on here. And what's the response been like to your comment? Anybody get kind of butthurt over it?
Yeah, I think I was actually told that it was the dumbest fucking post they've ever seen.
Nice.
Yeah. But then again, the person who has that opinion, they're, just as warfighters are my life-giving cause,
right,
their life-giving cause is getting medical marijuana passed.
Right.
Okay, so if I had taken that stance against someone who died because they could not get medical marijuana, and I made that statement on that post,
yeah,
I would have been eaten alive.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking away from the life of Prince or the life of China, the wrestler.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying if we gave the same attention that we've given those two people who contributed to a fraction of society, And we took that energy and we put it towards those who have contributed to our society without people even realizing how they contributed. Look at what we could have brought attention to. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point. Some folks won't see it, but to each their own, I guess. I've got two warfighter-related stories that I want to cover before we get into the random ones. And I know folks really enjoy these random stories, and man, I've been on a pretty good tear on these societal-type stories lately, so we'll get to that in just a little bit. I've already posted the articles up in the chat thread. I'm going to cover them out of order, though. They're both from the Army Times. The first one I want to talk about is something that I had no idea was even going on. House lawmakers under Representative Joe Heck, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee Personnel Panel, are vowing in the coming days to prevent military widows from losing thousands of dollars in federal assistance checks next year. Basically what this is the extension of the Special Survivor Indemnity Allowance, which is a monthly payout to military widows and widowers. Representative Heck said, we're very close. It has to be done. I believe we'll find an offset. They're caught up in the cost of this thing. But apparently this is going to be expiring next year, and recipients would basically be losing about $310 a month. That's a nice chunk of change if, this is your only income. This could be a game changer for a lot of military families out there.
It could. I'm always cautious of the strings that they attach to stuff.
Oh, of course. Well, this is actually a part of the overall defense spending bill. So this isn't going to be like a standalone thing or anything. Now, veterans advocates have been lobbying for a change in how the payouts are calculated, because it has to do with the survivor benefit plan and this dependency compensation plan. And it's kind of like the VA. They have this weird system where, somebody gets this much, somebody else gets this much, and nobody really understands the math. And veterans advocates have been trying to change that for about 30 years, but they say a full fix could cost over $1 billion. Even though it affects 63,000 military families, they still haven't addressed that. So it looks like it's going to pass. But again, it comes down to the wire. And I have a problem where they're saying, we'll find an offset for the cost. It's, again, I was talking yesterday about how, so much gets put off on the backs of warfighters, especially when it comes to defense spending and things like that. It's sad.
I think people should always be worried, because that's pretty much code for, don't worry about it, we're going to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yep, exactly. What are they going to do? Cut more from the Army? Get rid of 10,000 more troops or something? I mean, you never know. So we're down to a half hour here, so let's keep things rolling. And I realize, folks, we're hitting things kind of fast and furious here, but I just want to get these stories out and in. April, this is the one I sent you earlier about the study on VA service dogs. Yeah, and I really want to talk about this, because this article was put out by the Associated Press and was picked up by the Army Times, by Fox News, and a bunch of other outlets. This hits on a ton of issues, and it's very appropriate today because we're talking about alternative therapies, which service dogs are an incredible alternative method of assistance and things like that. We've seen time and time again documented cases where it absolutely transformed a warfighter's life. And I've talked to you guys, a lot on the show about my own dog, who, although he's not a service dog, he does certain things when I'm triggered or, upset. He has his ways of calming me down. So I've seen the benefits firsthand. And this is a bizarre article, and I really don't like this article. But what it stems from, apparently since 2002, the Department of Veterans Affairs has paid the veterinary bills to veterans with guide or service dogs for physical disabilities.
As well they should.
Yes, they should. And now, of course,